Hello guys, Marie here and welcome to another artsy video. So I was spring cleaning in my art supply stash the other day and I found this little huge guy, and this is a Copic extra broad marker, and this is a B24 for you Copic nerds out there. As you can see, it has a super wide chisel nib, and I got it in like a sketch box a year ago, and I thought to myself, when will I ever use this one? And then I came up with this brilliant idea. Let's do a super wide one marker challenge, because I only have one of these super broad markers. But then the next question is, what should I draw with it? Because I had no idea what I wanted to draw. So I asked you guys on Instagram, and you guys are just the best to ask for suggestions. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, by the way, I'm Kattvalk there as well. And the first comment by Alisetk, and sorry if I butchered your name, said that I should draw a giant whale. And the second comment by Chewy Kiwi Art said that I should draw a whale because why not? Yeah, why not? Then many more of you suggested whales and ocean creatures and such. So yeah, I'm gonna use this giant marker to draw a giant whale, so let's go! I will be using this extra broad Copic marker, of course, but also a colored blender pen to get some more textures and different shades in there. I will also use this Copic brush pen. Here you can also see how ridiculously big the nib is compared to a regular Copic Chow chisel nib. As you saw in the beginning, I made a few sketches of the different ideas I had for this whale, and the first one I made was just a whale up by the ocean surface with a sea below and some sea creatures, and it wasn't very interesting, so I wasn't too fond of that idea. I also made a whale floating among the clouds with some ships sailing around it, and I liked that idea better. But one idea that stuck with me was this one, a whale island. I like mixing different elements that shouldn't really be together and create new things with interesting features to look at. And I know I'm not the first person drawing a whale island, but this is just my interpretation. I did my very best to use the blender pen to create different textures, and I know some of you considers blender pens in these limited marker challenges as cheating, but you have your rules and I have mine. If you want to do this challenge yourself, feel free to use the rules that you like. Anyway, I tried lighten up the trees in the background so that they would be more in contrast to the trees in front of them, to give the drawing some more depth and contrast. I also tried layering the marker to get some darker color tones, but that didn't work as well as I wanted. It seems like some colors you can layer multiple times and get darker color tones, and some you can't, not as well anyway, even if you layer them 1,000 times like I did here. I also played around a bit using negative space. Since I only have one color to work with, I have to use what is given to me, and the paper that I'm drawing on is white, so why not use that? Someone on Instagram actually suggested I could try using masking fluid to create different patterns, and I've never thought of using masking fluid with markers before. You mainly use masking fluid with liquid mediums like watercolors and inks, but I guess it is ink in markers, so I tried masking the sea turtles and the fish and bubbles around the whale so that I could just color over the whole area with the marker without worrying about drawing these tiny little creatures with a super wide marker nib. And by this point, when I started coloring the ocean, the marker started to run out of ink. Of course, I only had a whole ocean to draw and it decided to give up on me now. But I'm not surprised though, I've used a lot of ink in this drawing already. So the strokes started to turn out very ugly and streaky. But I decided to take that to my advantage instead and created this wavy pattern to replicate some sort of watery feeling or texture, you know. I think it turned out pretty nice actually. It also worked really well coloring over the masking fluid areas with a marker. The only thing you have to think about is to be very careful so that you don't accidentally remove the masking fluid with a pen nib. But I must say that I am pretty impressed on how the masking fluid worked with a marker. It worked really well, and I thought the ink would bleed in under much more than it did, but the marker was pretty dry, so that might have helped a little. If I'd known it would work that well, I would have played around with it even more and created more patterns. So now I would actually consider this a finished piece. I could just leave it as it is right now and I would be super happy with it. So I would say that this is a successful one marker challenge. But since I really love outlining my artworks, I had to make some line art to see how that looks, and you guys can let me know which one you prefer, with the line art or without the line art. So perhaps I should talk a little about this challenge too. I do actually think that it was more challenging only using one color than drawing with a super wide chisel nib, because even if the nib is super wide, it is still pretty thin, so you could just use the outer point of it and draw with and angle it and get a pretty wide range of different line thicknesses, so to speak. And I also cheated a little with the masking fluid, but you have to experiment a little. But it is still much harder and much more challenging to use a chisel nib than drawing with a finer brush nib or a bullet nib. I actually think it would have been a lot harder to draw with a giant bullet nib pen, so let me know if that's a challenge you like to see. And when working with only one color, you really have to plan your drawing so that everything isn't melting together, you know. I didn't just want a big blue blob, so I think it would have been way easier to just make the line art first, to have some guidelines to follow, but I wanted to challenge myself, so that is why I didn't make the line art until after it felt like a completely finished drawing that I was happy with. I like both versions though, both with the lines and without, but I think that the black lines adds much more contrast and liveliness to the image. Also, I just want to say this really quick because I haven't had a chance to talk about it yet. About a month ago I made a video where I talked about taking a shorter break from YouTube and rethink and replan my channel and such, and I'm back from that break obviously, and I will talk more about my thoughts and my ideas for the future in a future video. I just don't have much time to talk about it today, but I just wanted to say thank you for all the encouraging words and comments. It was just overwhelming. I was so moved by how supportive you guys are, and I just wanted to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. You guys are just the best. So that is all for today. I hope you liked this giant whale island made with a giant marker. Please leave a like and a comment and subscribe and all that fancy stuff if you want to see more of my art. And if you want to, you can click that little bell icon right next to the subscribe button so you will get notified every time I post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Keep drawing my happy cats. Bye!